Today I'm going to try to draw this beautiful church nestled against this rocky hillside in Nafplio, Greece. And as the title suggests, this video will be part one of a two-part drawing. And that's because this took me about an hour, making it the longest drawing I've done in this series. And I'll tell you what, it was not comfortable. My legs were jello after this, and that was not the worst of it. But I'll spare you any more details. So yeah, today I'm drawing this church, which happens to be part of the same complex as the bell tower I drew from a few weeks ago. Not the one from Palamidi Fortress on Monday, but the other one back in November. I guess I draw a lot of the same stuff, whatever. Anyway, this is where that was. In fact, I could have seen it had I looked over my shoulder. And this whole area is just so impressive. The church itself is called Evangelistria, and it sits above our neighborhood of Pronia, which I talked all about last week. Anyway, I won't bore you with all the specific details about this particular church, because besides, what I found most fascinating about it was its construction at the top of the hill, practically emerging from the craggy environment behind it, as well as the variety of shapes and textures that was sure to hold my attention, which it did for an hour. But you know that already. What else do you know? Oh, right, to like the video. Exactly, like the video. So please go ahead and do that. I'd appreciate it. And real quick, in case you're new here, I'm learning to travel while I draw the world or something to that effect. And right now I'm in Greece, but tomorrow I'll be somewhere else. My drawing has certainly improved. However, it's definitely still not great, but that's whatever. Who even cares about that besides me? Probably no one. Okay, so as I'm sure you've noticed, the sketchbook and my arm are moving all over the place, and it's admittedly a little jarring. They're moving because it makes it easier to draw straight lines sometimes, and it's jarring because I'm obviously not really moving this quickly. The drawing portion of this video has been sped up, as they all are at this point, and that's just for the sake of time. I've mentioned it before, so like I've said twice now, and once more for good luck, this one took about an hour, and even split up, that would make two 30-minute videos, and we can all agree that's too much. So yeah, it's sped up. Anyway, I like to think that all of this movement is a good sign. It means that A, I'm paying close attention to my line quality as stated, and B, I'm paying maybe even closer attention to the perspective of the scene, which is dictating the direction of all of those lines. And perspective is what this first part really hinges upon. While it may not be perfectly executed, ever, at this stage in the drawing, I'm pretty obsessed with getting all of it right. However, you'll also notice that I'm spending a significant chunk of time on the smaller details. I got hung up on these way too early in this drawing, and I don't necessarily regret it, but it's something that in the moment I realized I was doing, and that bumped up the anxiety quite a bit. In front of me, there's this broad structure, like not even including the hill in the background. And I'm over here dilly-dallying on the tiniest little window grate designs. It's ludicrous, but I actually quite like drawing this way. I've said it before, but there's something exciting about starting from one small point and working outward. And even though there's this mounting background stress, I think it might be worth it. That is, as long as the rest of the drawing works out. If not, well, that would suck. Cool. So, wow. This is all over the place so far. Perspective. It's inescapable. It's annoying, but it's part of every single drawing I do. So let's talk about it for a second. In this scene, from my vantage point, which is up a set of stairs, I'm looking downward. Usually, my eye line would be maybe somewhere around the middle of the doorway. But today, it's right about at the top of the right side building, maybe a tiny bit lower, so slightly above the middle of the screen. That means that every horizontal line below that line will point up and left if it's on the right side, and up and right if it's on the left side. Above that line, it will be the opposite, which is probably most notable in the upper left-hand corner with that roof that appears to be sloping down aggressively to the right. Obviously, in real life, this roof is horizontal, it's parallel with the ground, but via our perspective, it looks like it's, dramatically sloping. That all sounds way more confusing than it is because I'm not a very good teacher, and that's not the point of this anyway. But it gets even more confusing when you start to see all of the lines that don't follow the others. So if you look at the bottom left corner of the central doorway, you might see that this line, it's on this right plane that I'm talking about, yet it points up and right, which is not what you would think it would be doing. Hopefully you can see it. That's because while it's part of this plane that is broadly facing one direction, like it's on this right side, it's actually part of the opposite plane because that's that's the way it's facing. This inner region of the doorway is facing the same direction as the structure on the left broadly is. That is, they're both facing the right side of the screen. So, with that, you might understand how confusing all of this gets in the moment, which is why I'm toiling over it and why I continue to bring it up. Those small things don't seem like much, but they absolutely can make or break the illusion of depth that I'm trying to create. And I'm certain that there are countless examples of exactly that happening in this drawing, but I'm just trying to do my best to limit them. Hopefully that's insightful in some way, or if totally confusing, maybe you just had a nice time watching the drawing come together. Either way, I'm just glad you're here, and I hope you stick around for part 2, which you can expect at the same time tomorrow. I appreciate you for taking the time to watch this one, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.